Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss A Quiet Place, starring Emily Blunt, John Krasinski, Millicent Simmons, and Noah Jupe, and directed by John Krasinski. Before I get into the movie, I have a couple of things to confess. I was going to pick between this and Hereditary, and I don't know, I might eventually see Hereditary, but the problem I have with that movie is that little girl cutting the bird's head off. It kind of freaks me out. But maybe I might see it eventually, who knows. And number two, I do remember seeing this in theaters and trying to keep my breath, like, quieter, like the movie, for example. And it really was kind of hard when I watched this movie in theaters, because, and now that I can watch this in home viewing, and I almost forgot, Happy Halloween! This is for Halloween's sakes. So, let's get into the movie. The Abbott family, Evelyn, played by Emily Blunt, Lee, played by John Krasinski, Reagan, played by Millicent Simmons, and Marcus, played by Noah Jupe, and Bo, played by Cade Woodward, are at a after-apocalyptic world at a grocery store where they can't make one peep of sound or else some giant scary monsters can hear, find, and kill you. And I love that as a movie. It's how it's very suspenseful, and the fact it's very quiet just took my breath away, and I'm hooked into this movie right away. And one of the sons, Bo, grabs a rocket toy and he turns it on and makes noises with it, and it gets him killed by a creature that kind of looks like the tunnel monsters from Cloverfield. And I'm trying to breathe quietly while everything is silent. And I love how that, as a setup, works. And for a PG-13 rated horror movie, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, where things don't scare the crap out of me, same with jump scares, like I discussed with Annabelle or The Nun, for example, or in The Conjuring, whatever. And I'm scared of this movie, like, because when it's quiet, it takes my breath away, and it makes me very, very frightened. Days later, after Bo dies, Lee and Evelyn are expecting another baby, which will create problems when we get to the end of the movie. But I like these characters. And fun fact, the actress Millicent Simmons is actually deaf, and I really was impressed with her character because she has an arc throughout the movie, who believes Lee doesn't love her as a father-daughter relationship. When we get to later in the movie, he says in sign language how he always loved her. It's a very powerful moment of the movie, and it's very good acting and filmmaking by John Krasinski as a director and an actor in this movie. Lee makes Marcus go with him to the river and with the waterfall, which is such a beautifully shot scene. Meanwhile, Reagan goes out on her own without permission to basically visit Bo's graveyard. But hey, she's a kid. They disobey parents all the time. Please don't hit me. So I can't blame her, and also Evelyn gets stuck on a nail. Well, gets something stuck on a nail, what am I saying? And she'll step on it later in the movie. I'll talk about that a little bit too. I love these setups coming back in the end of this movie. An old man who seems to have killed his wife runs into Marcus and Lee, and he screams for death. Was a very intense scene, and Evelyn steps on the nail I brought up a few minutes ago and drops a piece of glass, and the monsters come in to find her, and I'm leading to believe her water broke because she's having a baby, and tries to not make a sound. And as it gets closer to her, then the timer goes off, and she runs into the bathtub and bleeds as she's giving birth, and she screams as she's giving birth. And I honestly thought she was dead until we see Marcus distracted by blowing up fireworks, which was rather clever but very intense. I love Emily Blunt's acting in this movie, just to be clear, because in that scene when she's giving birth to her baby, it's like it's really painful for her to deal with. We find out at this point of the movie that the creatures hate the loud squeaky noises and on hearing aids, and Reagan's hearing aid made the loud squeaky noise and it runs away, so that's a great way to start off a sequel, maybe, for Reagan to show up years later and with a new group of people killing every single one of those monsters. Reagan and Marcus get on top of a seed-holding tower, and Marcus puts on a fire, and Lee tries to find them, and Evelyn in the secret hiding place with the baby gets encountered by one of those monsters, and she goes slowly after the baby, and the monster, almost gets her, but Reagan and Marcus make a sound accidentally inside the seed tower, and they go after them until Lee finds them and gets them into a truck, and Marcus screams "Dad!" and Lee, as the monster attacks, then sacrifices himself and says he always loved her and screams for his death. And the way that scene was shot, its tone was absolutely a powerful moment. And Reagan and Marcus go into the secret room Lee made just for him and his wife, and a monster finds them, and Reagan realizes that squeaky noises are their weakness, and Reagan blows up the monster with the sound being super loud as it's going after the baby, and Evelyn shoots it so the others hear it, and Evelyn pops up the gun for a battle, setting up for a sequel. What great acting by these characters, and what a great ending. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.9 out of 10. I was really impressed with how scary this movie is, and I don't usually get scared by horror movies, even if they're R or versus PG-13, but this is the first horror movie to scare the crap out of me in years, by the way. What a great way to experience horror for Halloween. So I'd like to thank you guys for enjoying the show. And I will come back with a Christmas show. And I won't say what it is yet until we get to that time. And until next time,